I'm in the mood for love, simply because you're near me, honey. That when you're near me, I'm in the mood for love.
Hello, Krishna.
I'm in the mood for love, simply because you're near me, honey. But when you're near me, I'm in the mood for love.
That's good. If you're listening to some music, we've got some folks here. Hello, hello. I'm a bit early this time. Never early, never late. Everything happens at the perfect time. You've landed safely on the stream. What are we talking about tonight? Oh, it seems like a heavy one again. Oh, seems like a heavy one. Bit of a disclaimer. If you landed on here, take what you want, discard the rest. Remember, I am you, you are me, so go easy on yourself. This is going to seem to pull at a lot of people's heartstrings, but here we go. Hello. Yes. I made a post earlier in the week on Ascended Masters page that was quite heated. It is fired up January, and it's going to continue to be quite fiery if you're living in time and space heading into February. So do always, as I say, take a look at how you tolerate other people. That's always good. So tonight, we're going to talk about spiritual stories that we must let go of to return to our actual essence and our true experience of what we are. In the post that I made earlier in the week, I mentioned something about ascension, the ascension idea, and that eventually if you want to know who you are, this idea is like a crutch, and you're going to have to let go of it in order to, experience what you're looking for, to come to the bottom of who and what you truly are. And it's quite funny because Ascended Masters is a seeming, a very spiritual group. And it's quite funny how all these people that consider themselves to be so spiritual and be so loving, once their belief system or their identity as being on the ascension path is exposed for what it is, boy, do they get colorful. Then the mosquitoes come out again. Rah, 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 rah. And the mosquito infestation just starts straight away. It's quite funny. I'm not going to go too much into it. If you want to check out what was said, you can head over to Ascended Masters page on Facebook. There's a couple of them, but it's there if you want to have a good laugh. Self-love is best love. You can... everyone's free to think as they want. I always say, my favorite saying, there's nothing right or wrong with anything. But tonight we are going to expose that for what it is. Self-love is also just a crutch that needs to be let go of. And it's a popular idea in the spiritual community, in the New Age community. Everyone's talking about self-love, and this self-love, once you return to what you are, there is only oneness. So the concept exists in time, and it depends what sort of meaning you give the self-love. But for most circles of spiritual groups, self-love would be this practice that you take care of yourself in a way, or your soul, your body, this thing that you identify as. And that's, that's great. I'm just saying it's a crutch. And if you want to let go of that crutch tonight, let's talk about it. So yeah, this is only for the people who really want to know who they are. If you don't want to know and you want to continue practicing self-love, nothing right or wrong with it. I love everyone equally. We're all, yeah, it's all good, okay? So don't think that I'm like anti-self-love. I'm not saying that. I'm not pro-self-love. I'm just saying what it really is. Oh, we've got a lot of comments here. Christ loves you. Praise Christ. I mean, worship the Lord Jesus Christ. Nice. Respect yourself. All right. If there's people on here who find it really hard, feel free to jump off and come back at another time. This is really gonna rain. I feel some rain coming. Get your umbrellas out. Get your glasses out. The light might be very bright all of a sudden. Anywho, let's continue. So a little side note here, I also put intuition is a great indicator. However, reason provides the structure and the order, and reason is the higher consciousness or the higher faculty of the mind, because here we talk at Creating Miracle Minds, it's all in the mind, guys. I also made a side note that tarot can help access the unconscious mind, and archetypal images. The unconscious mind actually communicates in symbols, not in words. And these tarot cards cannot, however, tell the truth or the future. See a lot of that going on online. People fall into a trap. Don't get trapped into a rigid system, because symbols can mean different things for different people, but yeah, nothing right or wrong with anything. Again, if it's seen as, if it's helpful for you, do it, but yeah, it can be a bit of a trap, and some people just go about crazy. Art is a beautiful way to access the unconscious, and any other archetypal images are powerful at accessing intuition and unconscious, because that's turning your inner world into what seems to be the outer world, but also develop reasoning and logic. We want a healthy balance between the two, and that's what we do here, which is the most important part, is the reason and the logic. Astrology as well. I'm not saying there's anything right or wrong with anything, but sometimes people fall into the trap of astrology where they go, oh, I'm having a crappy day because this planet is spinning backwards and this planet is in here and da-da-da. That's where you fall into the trap. But again, it can seem helpful along the journey. It's a crutch. Again, it's a crutch that needs to be let go of. When we observe our mind, we bring another element, in. We draw in another element of reality. In school, we used to, we use the senses like empirical science, which we debunked the other day in about 20 minutes flat. And we use feelings, when we were in school, but not the observation of our inner world. And I came up with this explanation. If I was to explain it to a child, it's like, it would be like the development of a car. And that's, we just develop like a normal car when we're at school. But when we go a step further and we question our reality and self-inquire, all of a sudden our quality of life seems to be better, because this car is now, consciously contemplating in our mind, and this car is now able to not only land travel, but can dive under the water too. Like the car can go into the water, and it can also fly. It could be a flying car. So we sort of, when you realize what you are, you become so expansive in everything, everywhere, everybody. which can be very hard for most people to grasp what is said here. But again, shout out to Kerry Vale, if you're watching. We had a great session today. Love you, brother. Yeah, the more you stick with it, the more we talk about this here, the more good questions. One day there's going to be that beautiful moment where you're going to be like, yes, I get it. And yeah, so keep going. Julia's there, my sister Julia. Hello. Please pray to Christ. Jesus is alive. Shout out to Paul. Yeah, it seems to be a better pill that people don't really want to swallow. No one's going to come and save you. Okay, no one's going to come and save you. Yeah. So, here we mention mainstream religion and New Age at Creating Miracle Minds. We do, which people are starting to realize isn't working for them. Religion is not working. And neither is the New Age stuff. New Ageism and mysticalism is another big trap. Intuition plays a big role in Eastern traditions and in New Age traditions. And let's not think of intuition as a good or a bad thing, but transcend it. Because here we transcend religion and we transcend everything. And if you want to know a bit more about that, you can watch some of the previous videos, because everything that you think you are experiencing as an object, and we speak about this a lot, is the concept added by thought. Plain and simple. So what we talk about here is infinite awareness, or immortality, or nirvana, or absolute truth. Or if you're religious, you would call it God, but we mean the knowledge behind the word God here is different from what they teach in religion, because religion is like based on emotions and feeling. Religion is like, it makes you feel good, but it's not essentially what's there. Like, it's not going to provide you with what you're seeking, like eternal happiness and bliss. Because, I mean, there's a lot of religious people who still attack each other. There's a lot of spiritual people in the New Age circle that are attacking each other. So if you are so religious and you are so loving, you have to question, how could God make suffering, and why are people still attacking each other? Because they have not gone back to their essence, their natural essence. I believe in the Trinity. Christianity is based on the crucifixion and the resurrection. Yeah, it is. And I mean, it's good ideas and the truth lies there, but they have been misinterpreted as well. Like, again, I'll just quickly give you a quick example here, Paul. In the Bible, when it says that we are created in God's image, most people have interpreted that as like there is a physical world. Like us as human bodies with a soul in a body is actually God. Like, we're made in God's image. That's a misinterpretation, and if you want to know more, you could watch some of my previous videos. It's not absolute, because the body's going to come and go, and sensations, perceptions, thoughts, and feelings also come and go. So we cannot look to these things to give us eternal peace. But I'm not here to yeah, I mean, Christians also blame. They blame other people who aren't Christian. Anyway, I'm not going to talk about that. We're going to focus on what we talk about here seems to be a new development as well. That's why people attack, or seem to want to attack, and get all mosquito infestation. when I say these things, because it's new and because it seems that we've spent such a long time being unconscious that people seem afraid of being fully conscious, like lucid in the dream, the dreamer in the dream, you know. And here we rationally reflect self-awareness. We consciously contemplate and go back to our actual experience before we heard some story that we bought. And this provides the experience of being peaceful under all circumstances, being an intelligent human being, decoding your full reality of what's going on here, and experiencing, the loss or fear of death and all sorts of brilliant things. All your relationships are loving, da da da. It's really great. Which again, like New Age and religion, these people are still finding it hard, even though they've practiced mantra meditation. And I'm not saying there's anything right or wrong with anything, guys. I'm not pro, I'm not anti, I'm just saying it as it is. You can practice mantra meditation and religion and all sorts of things. I mean, for 30, 40, 50 years and still not feel in your heart that you found, truly what you're looking for. And you can still be in the pendulum swing of the avoidance of pain and the pursuit of pleasure and blaming everything else in this external world for your problems. If you want to do that, fine. But these videos are for the people who don't want to do that. That's all. So yeah, rationally reflect. And it seems like we're undoing the programming. If the New Ages don't understand that they must let go of some of these concepts that they believe to be true. And here we talk about knowing. We don't believe. This is beyond faith or belief. You actually know within your own awareness. It's an experiential thing. So if you can make, you can lose your mind if you buy into stories and conspiracy theories and things. You can totally lose your mind if you do not cultivate reason. It's often the people who consider themselves spiritual who attack this information the most. Because of that identity of like, I am a Christian, or I am a galactic from far, far away, or I am this and this and this. It's the identity. And as soon as you say, or as soon as you start revealing, the truth about it, people really get defensive and attack. And I'll explain a bit more about that later too, why that is so. Intuition is related to the unconscious, and we want both to be balanced. We want the conscious and the unconscious to be balanced so that we can function beautifully in this world. So reason is the guiding, filtering, examining function of these epiphanies and revelations and intuitions that we get. So we have emotions and the senses and intuition and reason, which is the highest faculty of the mind. So what is the ego? The ego is the identification. It's a sign of a limited and separate self, the finite self that people have created, that it seems like most people believe that they are, like I am a soul in a body, or I am a spirit in a body. I've made many videos on why this cannot actually be so. So yeah, they think that they are born into a body and they're doomed to suffer and to end its life and death. And it is the will that sees infinite awareness or eternity or immortality or whatever you want to call it. We call it here. The ego sees this as its enemy. And the ego is proof that strength is weak, that love is fearful, and that life is really death. And the ego opposes what we talk about here, this knowingness that is knowing its experience. Nessa lies, I am a truther, no disrespect to anyone. I am a sinner and Christ is my savior. Jesus walked on water and spoke to the waves. Well, I hope you found what you're looking for. So the ego is insane. In fear, it stands beyond everywhere, apart from everything. The ego separates itself and thinks that, okay, this is me, and I'm somewhere in here, and that's not me. That's everything else. That's not me. um, so in separation from the infinity of what you really are. In its insanity, it thinks it has become a victor over infinity itself, and it dreams of punishment and trembles at the figures in its dreams, its enemies, who seek to murder it before it can ensure its safety by attacking them. The ego attacks other people. And infinite awareness, what I call it, is egoless. What can knowingness or deep sleep or infinite awareness, which is what we talk about here, what can infinite awareness know of sorrow and of suffering when it lives in eternity? And again, it might be hard to know what I'm saying. So we can ask good questions and we can contemplate, and that's how it becomes a part of your experience. If you consciously, rationally, logically contemplate on these things, what can infinite awareness know of fear and punishment and sin and guilt and hatred and attack when all there is surrounding this knowingness is peace and bliss? Forever conflict-free, undisturbed, in the deepest silence and tranquility. Deep sleep is what I call it. And we return to that every... it seems if you're living in a world of time and space, you go through 3 different stages every day. This is why this is so universal. It transcends religion, because no matter what religion you are, no matter what sexual preference, gender, nationality, everyone seems to go through 3 stages: deep sleep, the dream state, and the waking state. And I've made a video on that. And if we study these 3 stages very deeply and self-inquire, you will come to realize the truth. By what I mean by deep sleep, to know reality is not to see the ego. It's not even to see the ego. That's why I always use the word seems, because it seems so, but in reality, when you know who you are, it's not really so. Then you just see, you see with spiritual vision through everything, and you see the humor and the joy behind things that cannot be seen with the physical eyes. It's an inside job. So even these pages and these new age concepts of like, oh, you have to protect yourself, or oh, other people with ego, and not, I mean, it is a crutch. It's a crutch that needs to be let go of in order for you to really know the essential nature and experience that, you know. Oh, Saya's there. Hello. Hello. Stepping back when the rabbit hole is sucking too hard is a good move. Keep your focus on people. Yeah, I've stepped back a bit. Ex-drug user, drunk and paying for sex, now preaching the gospel. I actually speak about that. Drug users, there's no difference between going to church, going for a skydive, and paying for sex. Paul, do you know why there's no difference? All 3 of those people are looking for the same thing. They're looking for the collapse of separation. They're looking to experience this essential nature. Yeah. Are you a preacher, Paul? Paul says that he's an ex-drug user and a drunk, and that he used to pay for sex. That's all right. No judgment here. I love everyone equally. No judgment. Anyway, as long as you're not, as long as it's mutual, as long as you're not hurting anyone. But even if you are, look, it's not in my reality. In my reality, I am aware. I am aware. I'm just awareness being aware, This is my reality. Anyhow, let's continue. So to know reality is not to see the ego and its thoughts, its works, its acts, its laws, its beliefs, its dreams, its hopes, its plans for saving itself, and the cost belief that it entails. So in suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense if you buy into the ego. And a lot of this goes unrecognized. But we could say, in a way, it seems like the person's not really living at all when you're buying into the ego and you buy into stories or identities like, I am a person who does this and this and this. I've made a video before on actually trying to find that person on whose behalf we suffer or feel like a victim, or when you actually investigate and you try to find that person, like, oh, I resent my mother. Go try find the person that resents your mother. When you really truly self-inquire, you'll find that that person doesn't exist. And there is a video which I'll link where it explains it more in depth. So its whole perception, the ego's whole perception of other egos as real, is only an attempt to convince itself that it is real. I am real. And there's other egos in the world that I can attack and fight. So self-esteem, and this is where the self-love thing comes in, practicing self-love. And this self-esteem, self-confidence, in a way. Yes, it's a great crutch, but it's a crutch that needs to be let go of if you want to go all the way. Okay, nothing right or wrong with anything. Oof, I can feel the heat. I love a good hot day, love a nice tan. Okay, so self-esteem in ego terms means nothing more than that the ego has deluded itself into accepting its reality, like, I exist, I am a person in a body, I'm a soul in a body, I am a galactic avatar, all these things. Beautiful story. If you want to experience eternal bliss and peace, gotta let go. You can come back and see it as entertainment. That's what happens. You see everything as just beautiful entertainment. It's a story. Have fun with it. Yes, great. But if you're still suffering and you have an identity of some sort, then it needs to be let go of. So the self-esteem, self-love thing that the ego builds is deluding itself into accepting that it actually exists in this world. See, even with the Bible, it says, be, in this world, but not of this world. That's pointing towards transcending body identification, in a way, identity of anything. So in ego terms, it means nothing more than the ego has deluded itself into accepting its reality and therefore is temporarily less predatory. That's what self-esteem is. And self-love. Like, I have self-love now, I have now self-esteem, so I'm going to be not attacking, I'll be less predatory now towards other egos, other people. Who is the other people? This self-esteem is always vulnerable to stress, because when this person who is now so self-loving and full of self-esteem gets stressed, especially now, or feel stress, especially maybe when watching this video, it's going to stress you out. It's going to be like, oh, well, this information is, and when the ego becomes vulnerable, the self-esteem, self-love becomes vulnerable to stress, is a term which refers to any perceived threat to the ego's existence. Like, you're threatening me now. You're threatening my identity. I want to be this cosmic identity. I want to be a religious person. I am a religious person. I am this kind of person. I am a successful businessman. What do you mean I am not? You know, that sort of thing. So, yeah. Inspiring. Would you say those with low self-esteem seem to be the ones who hurt others the most? See, low, the concept of low implies that there can be a concept of high. Low and high, hot and cold, up and down, good and bad. This is lives in the world of duality and perception. Perceptions can differ, and perceptions come and go. So, in absolute, there is no difference between a person who has low self-esteem and a person who has high self-esteem. They are both illusions, because when you investigate the person who has low self-esteem or the person who has high self-esteem, we find that that person does not exist. And I will share some videos about how to self-inquire to get to a point where you can recognize clearly, with reason, returning to your actual experience of the world, that it is not so. But again, you know, we can get lost in it, but it's not to get lost in the fact that, oh, this world, the outside world's just an illusion, so I'm not going to get out of bed, and why should I brush my teeth in the morning? It's not about that, you know. We do come back to be able to live what seems to be normal lives. We keep families. It's just the experience of what's going on within is totally incredible, literally incredible. Sai Stacy is a preacher. Here we go. Trying to attack another brother of mine. When you attack another brother, it seems like you're trying to attack me, because I am in everyone and everywhere. And you can find me in everything, for I am the everyone. I am ever present. Ay. Look at you guys. It's about geoengineering. Yeah. Lots of love, Sai. I'm gonna come make a trip to the Naki. Come and have a cup of tea sometime. We can talk about real matters. Ooh, okay. Yeah, so the ego literally lives by comparisons. This also answers the question of low and high self-esteem. The ego literally lives by comparisons. The ego lives in comparing things, in duality. Now, when you return back to knowingness, then duality is not seen as a good or bad thing. It just means there's no attachment or resistance to duality. And that's another thing. The New Age people are like, no, I hate the dark. The dark is bad. But that is actually, when you look at life complete and you return to this ever-present, you know, pure state, which knows no resistance, and then you let everything flow through your awareness without resistance, and you transcend objects and forms. So yeah, but equality is beyond its grasp. Equality is beyond the ego's grasp. Always slightly a little bit better. My planet is better than your planet. my religion. Oh, there's never quite equality that exists in the ego. And charity becomes impossible. So the ego never gets out of abundance because it was made as a substitute for it. The ego never gives out of abundance. Anyway, that is why the concept of getting arose in the ego's thought system. Appetites, here we go, is one that's very interesting. Appetites are getting mechanisms representing the ego's need to confirm itself, right? This is as true of body appetites as it is of so-called higher ego needs. Appetites. I need this external thing, right? I need this external thing. Yeah. Body appetites are not physical in origin. We've already confirmed through other videos that the objects and physicality does not exist. The ego regards the body as its home and tries to satisfy itself through the body. But the idea that this is possible is the decision of the mind, which has become completely confused about what is really possible. The ego believes it is completely on its own, which is merely another way of describing how it thinks it originated. This is such a fearful state that it can only turn to other egos and try to unite with them in an attempt at identification or attack other egos. Oh, some people try to attack me, saying, oh, she thinks she's better than everyone else. So they try to attack me in the show of their own strength. Like, I can, yeah, water off a duck's back, Go easy on yourself. I love you. Anyway, infinite awareness in its knowledge is unaware of the ego. It sees only joy. It does not attack. It merely cannot conceive of attack at all. While the ego is equally unaware of infinite awareness, it does perceive itself as being rejected by something greater than itself. And your heart knows this. Listen to your heart, This is why self-esteem or self-love in ego terms must be delusional. The mind of infinite awareness does not create myths, stories, beliefs. Here we talk about knowing. This is not believing. You can actually know this within your own being. Australia. I am fine with mocking and slandering for Christ. What are you guys at? Oh gosh. I became born again in 2004. Who is the I that you're referring to? Let's investigate. Who is this I? Anyhow, I'll really link you some of my previous videos. Jesus Christ was mocked, and he created this universe and was killed by those he came to save. I feel as though I'm lying on a shag carpeted couch listening to my therapist. Amsterdam is here. Hi Sven from Amsterdam. Hey, kan jy my verstaan? Ek kan Afrikaans praat en ek dink as jy Nederlands verstaan, dan kan jy 'n bietjie weet wat ek sê. Anyway, let's concentrate. So did Jesus not say that you shouldn't attack your fellows? Did Jesus not say that do no harm, cause no harm? Something like that. His teachings were very misunderstood at times, but myths, stories, these galactic stories of the New Age, myths. are entirely perceptual and so ambiguous in form and characteristically good and evil, because there can be good aliens and bad aliens, right? There can be good and bad. I mean, there's a time and a place for right action, for sure. But again, if you want to let go and experience eternity, then you're going to have to let go of this identification first and then come back and have a lot of fun. These stories, they can be so good and evil in nature that the most benevolent of them is not without fearful connotations. Myths and magic are closely associated, since myths are usually related to ego origins stories. Are related to ego origins, and the magic to the powers that the ego ascribes to itself. Mythological systems generally include some account of the creation and associate this with its particular form of magic. This so-called battle for survival is only the ego's struggle to preserve itself and is its interpretation of its own beginning. The beginning is usually associated with physical birth, because it is hard to maintain that the ego existed before that point in time. And the more religiously ego-orientated may believe that the soul existed before that and then will continue to exist after a temporary lapse into the ego life. And some even believe that the soul will be punished for this lapse in ego life. However, absolution or salvation does not apply to infinite awareness or knowledge, which is not in danger and does not need to be saved or salvaged. You don't need to save what you really are. It's already perfect. You just need to recognize it, and let go of the crutches that have supported you to get to the point where you feel ready to let go of your identity. That's all. It's not really that fearful, but it can be interpreted that way. And that's why there seems to be so many people with mosquito infestations in their computers. Oh. So the ego cannot survive without judgment. Here we go. The ego can't survive without judgment and is laid aside accordingly. And the mind then has only one direction which it can move. When you don't judge, you go within and boom, there we go. Figure it out. Consciously contemplate. Let go of your identity, let go of all concepts, and then voila, you get that, ooh. Then you know what I'm saying. Misperception is a block to knowledge. The whole value of right perception lies in the inevitable realization that all perception is unnecessary. This removes the block entirely. You may ask how this is possible, as long as you appear to be living in this world. But you can leave what seems to be your body and still seem to be living in the world, but not of it. That's what it means. So, that is a reasonable question when you go, how is it possible? How is this possible as long as I'm living in this world to know what's being said, to know what's going on here? Well, who is the you who is living in this world? Spirit is immortal. We could call it spirit, we could call it infinite awareness, we could call it, nirvana, heaven. These are all things that are like immortality, like they're forever. And immortality is a constant state. It's as true as it is now, as it ever was or ever will be, because it implies no change at all. That's why I made the previous video, which is like talking about how variety is not the spice of life. Really, we want something that's always constant and the same and secure and certain. That's what humanity's yearning for. Are you Aussie or Netherlands? I seem to have been born in South Africa, and I seem to have immigrated in New Zealand, But that's just part of my story, because I was never born and I will never die. Very hard for most to. You have to be very smart and very intelligent if you wanna know. Ja, ek verstaan jou goed. Oh, good. I actually understood every single word in Afrikaans. Yeah, Afrikaans is like 80% Dutch, I think, or something. So I love talking to people from the Netherlands. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Yeah, you're welcome. You're most welcome. I just love sharing my joy with the world. Run my mouth, and helps a lot of people, it seems, and also seems to get me in a lot of trouble. But hey, no judgment, right? As long as I'm not hurting anyone, I'm free to walk the earth unmolested and say what I want. But it can be interpreted as hurting people. But really, it's not the case. That's just their own mirror, you see. Consciousness can seem fearful, yes. It seems to be quite a new thing, but it's what I'm saying is when you really go with us on the journey, you find out it is what it is. Love is what love is. It seems that people have forgotten how to love unconditionally. You know, like, I'll love you if you do this and this, but if you do this, I don't know, it's quite hard for me to love you then. You know, there comes the judgment, there comes the ego, control, da 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 da. Trouble can be fun. Yeah, I like light-hearted trouble. Nail-pierced hands. Sheep needs a shepherd. Nails pierce the hands. Mm. Oh, it's quite hot here tonight. So knowledge never involves comparisons. Never involves comparisons. Low, high, good, bad. Knowledge, which everyone really wants, never involves comparisons, and that is its main difference from everything else the mind can grasp. It's very hard to grasp this, but if you keep with it, you will. Ooh, got it. But it seems very, very different from everything else that's been said or taught. I mean, many people are saying these things, and you come across this information when you're ready for it, you know. And I made a video previously on how to defy the laws of physics. Like, once you connect to your heart and you know what I'm saying, things like chemtrails and radiation from outside and 5G and it seems hard for the normal scientist to actually understand that this is possible, you know, but there's no fear. Like, it cannot touch you. Like, when you return to infinity, it just cannot touch you. And I'll make a video on that. And with, the new technology that's coming out in terms of scalar technology and being able to photograph energy and frequency and vibration, Keelian photography, you'd be able to capture what I'm saying. And people always try to capture these things, but there's no way that you can be hurt by what's going on in the external world. I'm not saying drink arsenic. I mean, but once you return and you're immortal, it's all good, you know. Like, you don't have to do anything. Anyway, you can cram the mind full of useless facts and stories. That's what we spoke about tonight. There's many people believing useless facts and stories. And again, it's not an attack. It's just... but knowing the source is what matters. This is what we talk about here. It's like a river. When you're going along a river, you know, you can know all the nooks of the river. You can know everything about the river and the external world. Oh, there's a big rock there, and oh, da-da-da. And that's great. The external spots. But what is essential to know what is essential to know for us in our reality. What's essential to know is the nature of the river, its source waters. It's essential for us to understand our nature and our actual source, and why the river is flowing and how the river is flowing. So this is a little analogy. Like, it's essential for us to know what we are, and how this is so, and why this is so, and the source of us, the nature, the true nature, knowledge is what we talk about here. So we don't need to understand stories, we need to know our essential nature, and people need to understand the foundational matters of things. Hey girl, my sister Claudia's there. We got some bouncers on here, guys. Play it nice, play it nice. All playing nicely in the sandpit, being non-judgmental. Fight the battle that's worth it. To go fight your own ego if you want to fight something this month. Don't fight the external world. That's my 2 cents. I left. There's nothing better on the other channels. I think you're more interesting. Meditation. Jesus spoke in parables. Yeah, I mean, again, here we can use beautiful metaphors to point in the right direction, and even in the Bible, like they use beautiful metaphors and ways to try and show the way of what's being said. And I love to do that here. Come up with analogies and to try and point in the right direction. They asked Jesus his name. He said, "I am." That's the key. Yeah, the Oscar knows. I am. Jesus never died. Like, he never died, guys. I don't know, Paul. I mean, you can say that the nails went into his hands and he died, but does the nail and the hand really exist? Because we know that these objects don't exist. Anyway, that's enough rambling for me tonight. In true Creating Miracle Minds style. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Remember, the only thing that's real is love, and fear is a dream.